Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That strange feeling you have been carrying this week, the one that tells you something shifted. Stop dismissing it. The enemy is working overtime right now for one reason and one reason only. He sees what is about to be said about you. It all changes in the next 24 hours. The silence, the waiting, the wondering if what you did even mattered. But here is what you need to hear clearly. It is not changing because of timing. It is changing because of what you have already done. Think back to that moment this week when you opened your mouth and said the thing you were not supposed to say. Or maybe you did the thing everyone around you said was too bold, too much, too soon. You did not know it then, but that word you released, that action you took, it lit a fire that is still spreading right now while you are sitting here watching this. You did not start a conversation. You started a revolution. God rearranged your entire schedule today to bring you this verdict. So anchor your spirit and do not move, because I am about to read the decree that explains everything you have been feeling. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment scheduled before the foundations of the earth. You are standing at a threshold between the person you were before that moment and the person you are about to become because of it. Stay until the very last second of this message, because in the next few minutes I am going to hand you the legal decree that confirms your moment was not reckless. It was prophetic. I am going to walk you through the zero compromise audit, so you can see exactly where you became the catalyst, even when you felt like you were just surviving. And at the end, we're going to seal this declaration with a prayer that locks in everything your boldness just activated. Do not click away. Your future self is begging you to stay, because if you leave now, you will walk away not knowing the magnitude of what you just set in motion. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere around you has not just been different, it has been electric. But the electricity has felt strange, almost uncomfortable, because you cannot tell yet if what you did was celebrated or condemned. Maybe you said something in a room full of people and watched the expressions shift. Some nodded, some went quiet, some walked away. And maybe you have been replaying that moment ever since, wondering whether you spoke too soon, or whether you finally spoke at the right time after years of silence. Or maybe it was not a room. Maybe it was a message you sent, a post you released, a decision you made publicly that you cannot take back, and now you feel the weight of it pressing on your chest every time you check your phone. You feel exposed, like you stepped out of a covered place into open ground, and now every eye is on you. And in this exposed place, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. Listen to your thoughts right now. He is telling you that what you said was too much. He is replaying the faces of the people who went silent when you spoke. He is reminding you of the ones who walked away, the ones who questioned your motives, the ones who said you were out of place. The accuser is telling you that the reason people are talking is not because you were bold. It is because you were wrong. He is telling you that you got ahead of God, that you disrupted something fragile, that you are now the problem inside a room that used to receive you. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Acts 17:6 says, "These who have turned the world upside down have come here too." Listen to what they called it. They called it turning the world upside down. And they said it like it was a crime. But the ones being accused were the ones carrying the move of God. The whole town was talking about them too. The whole town was alarmed. The whole town was disrupted. And that disruption was not a mistake. It was the method. You are not in a scandal. You are in ascending. The heaviness you feel is not the weight of regret. It is the weight of consequence, the kind that follows every person who has ever been chosen to say the thing that changes the temperature of a room. You think the silence that fell after you spoke was rejection. You think the people who are talking about you are your opposition. But let me reframe your reality right now. The whole town talked about David before he was crowned. The whole city talked about Esther before she was honored. The whole region talked about Jesus before the transformation began. And now the whole town is talking about you. That was not a mistake. That was a marker. You did not disrupt the plan. You are the plan. Hit the like button. Hit the like button if you felt this message arrive exactly when it needed to. Drop a comment below. What is the one bold thing you said or did this week that you are still second-guessing right now? Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let's go deeper, because what just happened in your life, what people are whispering about, what spread from one mouth to the next without your permission, that wasn't gossip. That was an announcement. And the difference between those two things is everything. Gossip tears down, it poisons the well, it sows discord like weeds in a garden, choking out the good fruit. Announcements, however, prepare the way. They are like trumpets sounding before a king, heralding a coming shift, a divine intervention. And whether those people spoke with admiration, their voices like the gentle rustling of leaves in appreciation, or with criticism, their words like sharp stones cast in anger. Whether they marveled with wide eyes as if seeing a miracle, or they mocked with cynical grins as if witnessing folly, they were all unknowingly doing the same thing. They were saying your name in rooms you hadn't entered yet. They were unknowingly pushing open doors with the force of their words, doors that their hands never intended to open. That's not coincidence, that's divine orchestration, wearing the deceptive costume of human drama, God's hand moving through the currents of human conversation. Think about what happened to Jesus when He returned to His hometown of Nazareth. He hadn't done anything wrong. He hadn't made a scene. No grand pronouncements, no ostentatious display. He simply showed up carrying something different, something undeniable, a palpable anointing, a light that couldn't be contained. And before he could even fully articulate his message, the whole synagogue was already alight with conversation, a ripple of murmurs turning into a wave of questions. Isn't this the carpenter's son? Is this not Joseph's boy, Mary's child? Where did he get this wisdom that flows like a river? Where did this power emanate from? This force that seems to bend reality? They were stunned, their minds grappling with the dissonance between the man they thought they knew and the divine presence they were now witnessing. And yet, in the same breath that they marveled at the impossible, they were offended by the disruption of their preconceived notions. Both reactions, awe and offense, coexisting in the same room on the same day. Because that's what happens when a chosen one begins to rise into their true identity, when the divine blueprint within them starts to unfold. It disrupts the comfortable narratives of people who have already decided who you are, people who have locked you into a box of their own making. And the disruption itself is the sign, the seismic tremor that indicates a shift in the spiritual tectonic plates, not the applause, which can be fleeting and fickle, not even the opposition, which can be misdirected energy. The disruption, because nothing that was ordinary, nothing that remained mundane, ever caused that kind of profound, unsettling, yet undeniable reaction. And here's what most people miss entirely, the subtle truth hidden beneath the surface of the spectacle. You didn't start this conversation. You didn't light this fire that spread like wildfire through the community. Something moved through you, a divine impulse, a word spoken in season, a courageous decision, a bold action, an unyielding stand. And it landed like a spark on the dry, dormant ground of other people's unawakened truth, and it caught. It ignited something within them that had been waiting, unseen, for the right catalyst. That's not your ego inflating itself. That's your assignment in action. The chosen one is never the source of the fire, the originator of the divine spark. They are simply the willing conduit, the brave soul who carries the flame when everyone else, paralyzed by fear or complacency, put it down. They are the messenger who speaks the word that ignites a dormant generation. But here's where it goes deeper, into the very core of your calling. Because you have to understand something profound about why you were the one they talked about and not someone else. It wasn't random. It never is. The people in your circle, your community, your city, they were watching you specifically because something in you was already different. A subtle luminescence that preceded the outward manifestation, long before you did the defining thing, long before you uttered the pivotal word. Something about the way you carried yourself, and inherent grace under pressure, the way you endured, weathering storms that would have shattered others, the way you didn't break when every logical reason dictated you should have. It had already been registering in the spirit, a silent testament to the divine wiring within you. And when you finally moved, finally spoke, finally stepped into that moment, it wasn't new information to heaven. It was the long-awaited confirmation, the visible evidence of what had already been ordained. The whole town talking wasn't the beginning of your story. It was simply the moment what was already written in the celestial scrolls became visible to the natural eye, the physical manifestation of a spiritual reality. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the part that will fundamentally challenge how you've been interpreting the resistance, the friction, the spiritual opposition that often surrounds a divine assignment. You see, not everyone who talked about you was against you, and this is where many get tangled, ensnared in the confusion, and lose their sacred momentum. They hear the noise, the cacophony of opinions and judgments. They feel the weight of 1,000 eyes upon them, an invisible pressure. They sense the gravity of public attention, and instead of rising, they retreat. They shrink, their spirit contracting like a startled creature. They begin to second-guess the very move, the very obedience that activated the conversation in the first place, seeing it as a mistake rather than a mandate. And the enemy, that master strategist of spiritual warfare, doesn't need to stop you with a frontal assault, a direct attack, if he can convince you to stop yourself, to self-sabotage with insecurity cleverly disguised as humility. That's the subtle, insidious trap. You call it staying low when God is calling you to rise, like a mighty eagle taking flight. You call it waiting patiently when heaven is signaling you to move, like a warrior charging into battle. You call it being careful, treading softly on eggshells, when the Most High is calling it disobedience, wrapped in the guise of prudence, a gilded cage of caution. David understood this profoundly. After he faced and felled Goliath, after the entire nation was singing his name, his victory echoing through the land like a triumphant anthem, after Saul's household was abuzz with talk of the young shepherd boy, after the women in the streets composed songs, weaving his exploits into their melodies, comparing his battlefield prowess to that of the reigning king, David didn't retreat into the shadows, seeking anonymity. He didn't apologize for the miraculous intervention of God that flowed through him. But he also didn't chase the ephemeral fame, the intoxicating applause. He just kept being faithful. He kept showing up, not just on the battlefield, but in his daily duties, his heart tethered to his divine assignment. He kept serving, tending his sheep, ministering to Saul, his focus unwavering. And that consistent, humble faithfulness in the face of overwhelming public attention is what truly proved that the calling was authentic, a genuine mandate from God, and not a fleeting performance designed to impress the crowds. Because anyone can rise in a single dramatic moment, but not everyone can sustain the character, the integrity, the inner fortitude that the moment demands for the long haul. True calling is revealed not just in the peak experience, but in the daily walk that follows. And this leads us to something that is absolutely critical for you right now, a truth that will either fortify you or fracture you, but depending on your spiritual maturity. The revolution you started, and make no mistake, it is a revolution, a seismic shift in the spiritual and perhaps the natural realm. It doesn't belong to you. This is the part that will either liberate your soul, setting you free from the burden of ownership, or unsettle you deeply, challenging your very understanding of control and purpose, depending on where you are in your spiritual journey. The movement that began when you moved, the profound shift that happened when you spoke that truth, the ripple of conversation that spread like ripples on a pond when you finally showed up in your God-given authority. It was never meant to be about your name, your glory, or your personal elevation. It was meant to carry the unique frequency of something heaven was releasing into the earth, a divine impartation for this hour. You were the vessel, the sacred container. The vessel doesn't own the water it holds, but the vessel is absolutely essential for its delivery. Don't diminish the divine significance of what you carry just because you didn't create it, like a potter who fails to see the value of the vessel that carries precious oil. And don't inflate your own importance either, letting pride creep in. Just honor it. Guard it with all diligence. Keep it clean, a pure channel for the divine flow. Coming up, we're going to explore the hidden weight that most chosen ones carry silently, a burden unseen by the world, and why releasing it is not an act of weakness but the very key, the essential unlock to what comes next in your divine progression. Because here's what nobody tells you about being the one people talk about, the one thrust into the spotlight of divine purpose. It's heavy. The visibility itself is heavy, like carrying a mantle of light that draws every eye. The expectation is heavy, the unspoken demand to replicate or surpass the moment that brought you to prominence. The idea that now you have to perform at the level of the moment that erupted, that you must constantly live up to that peak experience. That pressure is real, palpable, and it is incredibly dangerous if you don't understand its origin and how to manage it. People begin to project their hopes, their dreams, their unmet needs onto you, investing in you in ways that are disproportionate, placing a weight on your shoulders that you were never meant to carry alone. And if you're not anchored deeply, immovably, in who God says you are, not who the adoring crowd says you are in their fleeting moments of excitement, and certainly not who the harsh critics say you are in their moments of judgment and condemnation, you will begin to shape yourself to the noise, the clamor of external opinions and demands, instead of to the singular, unwavering, life-giving voice of God. And that voice, that divine whisper that guides your steps, is the only thing that truly keeps the calling alive and vibrant. Think of Moses after the Red Sea crossing. The people had just witnessed the impossible, a miracle of staggering proportions. The waters had parted like a curtain drawn aside, revealing a dry path. The pursuing enemy, the embodiment of oppression, had been swallowed by the returning waves, vanquished in a display of divine power. The entire nation had seen something so monumental that it would be recounted and marveled at for generations to come. And yet, within days, mere days, the same people who had sung the song of Miriam in triumphant praise were murmuring, complaining, questioning Moses' leadership, their hearts already sliding back into the familiar terrain of doubt and fear. The same crowd that had just experienced liberation was already expressing discontent, demanding water, craving the familiar comforts of Egypt. And Moses, the chosen leader, had to keep leading. Not because the crowd demonstrated unwavering faithfulness, not because the spiritual atmosphere remained celebratory and buoyant, but because the assignment, the divine mandate given to him, didn't change when the applause did, when the mood of the masses shifted like sand dunes in the wind. He had to know who he was, beyond the singular electrifying moment of the miracle, beyond the echo of the Red Sea parting. And so do you. Your identity and calling are not defined by the pinnacle experience, but by the enduring purpose that propels you forward. And yet, and here's the part that runs counter to everything the world teaches us about momentum, about capitalizing on highs and sustaining public favor. The noise around you, the very conversation that erupted, is not your assignment. Let me say that again, with all the spiritual gravity it deserves. The conversation that started, the revolution that broke out, the whole town talking, the whispers and the shouts, that is a byproduct of your obedience, a magnificent consequence of your willingness to step out. It is not the mission itself. The mission, the true heart of your calling, is still quiet. The mission is still internal, a deep work within your spirit. The mission is still about what you do in the room no one sees, in the solitary hour when no one is watching, in the prayer that no one hears but God, in the silent sacrifice that no one knows about. The public moment, the eruption of attention, was just the visible, glittering tip of a very deep, unseen root system. And the deeper the root, the more resilient and enduring the fruit it produces will be. True impact is cultivated in the hidden places. But let me challenge you with something profound, because this is where the real confrontation with your own destiny begins. You came into this message feeling the palpable energy of the movement around you. The recognition, the confirmation, the distinct sense that something significant is stirring in your life and in the world. And all of that is real, a powerful testament to God's work. But I want to ask you a question that most people, even those who sense destiny, avoid with all their might. Are you prepared for what comes after the revolution? Because revolutions have two distinct yet interconnected seasons. There is the breaking season, the upheaval, the noise, the disruption, the glorious awakening that captures attention. And then there is the building season. And the building season is quiet. It's unglamorous. It's the painstaking work that happens after the crowd has dispersed, after the initial fervor has subsided. It's the daily discipline that no one celebrates, the mundane tasks that lay the foundation for greatness. It's the private obedience that looks nothing like the grand spectacle of the public moment, the hidden integrity that sustains the outward manifestation. And tragically, most chosen ones are ready for the breaking, the exciting upheaval, but completely unprepared for the quiet, demanding work of the building season. This is where, lamentably, most movements die. Not from the onslaught of external opposition, not from the insidious attacks of the enemy, but from the chosen one's inability to transition, to gracefully pivot from the intoxicating energy of inspiration to the focused, disciplined effort of construction, from the prophetic word that ignites the soul to the practical, often tedious work that brings it into reality, from the electrifying moment of eruption to the sustained, uncelebrated years of faithfulness that give the initial eruption lasting, world-changing power. And what's coming for you next? What God is actually asking of you in this critical season is not another dazzling, visible moment that will capture the world's attention. It is deeper rootedness. It is more profound, private discipline. It is the kind of character work, the internal sculpting, that is invisible to everyone but God, and it is the very crucible that will forge the strength and integrity that will make the next public moment carry 10 times the divine weight and impact. And here's the part you probably didn't expect, a truth that often lies hidden beneath layers of spiritual aspiration. The thing that possesses the most potent power to derail everything God is orchestrating through you right now is not the enemy outside your gates. It's not the venomous critics casting their stones. It's not even the people who talked about you with contempt and scorn. It is the subtle, often unconscious, seeking of approval that you haven't yet fully relinquished. Deep beneath the surface of the movement, deep beneath the momentum of the revolution, deep beneath the boldness that erupted forth from you, there is a hidden place within your soul that is still quietly waiting to be validated. By someone specific, by a voice, a significant relationship, a past authority figure that was never going to bestow upon you the affirmation that heaven has already declared and sealed over your life. And until that place is thoroughly healed, until you stop measuring the validity and worth of your sacred calling against the fleeting acceptance of a person, a parent, a community, or a painful personal history, you will continue to perform the calling, putting on a show of purpose instead of truly living it, embodying it from the core of your being. And a performed calling, a life lived for external validation, will eventually, inevitably, exhaust itself, leaving you depleted and disillusioned. But a lived calling, a calling that flows organically from a healed, free and rooted place within your spirit, that one doesn't run dry. That one doesn't need the crowd's cheer to keep going. That one carries a revolution, not just for a fleeting moment, but for an entire generation and beyond. Place your hand on your heart and declare this with me, with all the conviction your spirit can muster. I release the need to be understood by those who were never sent to see me. I release the weight of every expectation that was placed upon me without my consent, without divine impartation. I break agreement with the insidious lie that my worth is measured by the volume of applause or the depth of criticism. I am not what the town says I am. I am what heaven declared, what the Father ordained, before I was even formed in my mother's womb. I step into this next season with unshakable clarity, with deep, unyielding rootedness, with a faithfulness that does not require an audience to validate its existence. The revolution that began through me is not mine to control, not mine to manipulate. It is mine to lovingly and faithfully steward. And I choose, starting this very moment, right now, to build what God is building, in the way He is building it, at the sacred pace He requires, with the unwavering character He demands. I am the chosen one, not because I am perfect, for perfection belongs to God alone, but because I said yes, a resounding, wholehearted yes when heaven called. And I say yes again, right now, in this sacred space, in this transformative moment, to everything that comes next. If this message resonated deeply, if it confirmed something your spirit already knew on an intrinsic level, don't let this be just another fleeting moment where you felt a spark and then moved on, letting the embers die. Let this be the moment something truly, fundamentally changed within you, a pivot point for your destiny. Share this with someone, a kindred spirit, a fellow traveler who needs to hear these liberating truths. Leave a comment below and tell me, what is the divine assignment you started, the sacred stir you initiated, that the whole town is still talking about? I genuinely want to hear your story, to witness the evidence of God's work through you. And whatever you do, no matter the challenges or the applause, stay faithful to what God has placed within you, that sacred trust, that divine assignment. The world is still waiting, with bated breath, for the full manifestation, the complete unfolding of everything you carry.